Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. The moment I knew something was wrong had nothing to do with lipstick stains or shady messages. It was the shoes. Her heels, burgundy leather, the kind she never wore for me, lined up neatly by the door every single night. But I never saw her walk in with them. She'd vanish around 6 p.m. and somehow reappear long after midnight, already showered, hair wet, robe on, those shoes placed perfectly beside her yoga mat. I asked once, just once, where she'd been. She laughed, said seriously, "You're tracking my shoes now?" And then she walked off. No answer, no explanation, just that smug smirk like I was the pathetic one for wondering. So I stopped asking, not because I believed her, but because I didn't want to hear the lies anymore. I'm not confrontational. I never was. I write code for a living, not drama scripts. But each night, a different version of her came home. Louder, harsher, drunk on attention from someone I couldn't see. I started keeping count, not of the lies, but the silences. Tuesday night, she said she was meeting an old college friend. I watched her on Find My iPhone. She was nowhere near a restaurant. Thursday night, she claimed there was a book club emergency. I didn't even blink. We don't own a single book by that author. Saturday night, she didn't say anything, just left in a dress with no coat. It was 39 degrees. By the end of the month, the coldest person in the house wasn't the one sleeping alone. It was her, smiling, pretending nothing was off, handing me coffee in the mornings like we were still on the same team. And then it happened. Sunday morning. Calm. Sunlight. Toast burning in the background. She glanced up at me from across the kitchen table, eyes barely curious, and said, "Why are you so cold lately?" I didn't even pause. "Practicing for when you're gone." The mug slipped from her hand. Shattered. Coffee splashed across the floor, her wrist, the white cabinets she made me repaint last spring. She stood there, stunned, like I'd hit her with a truth she thought I was too weak to hold. And maybe she was right. Until now. Because that same afternoon, I made one call. Just one. To a lawyer whose number I had saved under car insurance for weeks. What I didn't expect. The lawyer would call her the next morning. Panicked. I don't know what I expected after she dropped that mug. Maybe an apology. Maybe denial. But not what happened next. She didn't say a word. Just stood there, wet coffee dripping off her hand, staring at me like I'd just flipped the entire board mid-game. Then she slowly bent down, picked up the largest piece of the broken mug, and placed it gently in the sink. Her lips parted slightly, like she was going to speak. But nothing came out. Instead, she turned, walked upstairs, and shut the bedroom door. Not a slam. Just closed. Final. For the rest of the day, the house felt like a stage after the curtain drops. Too quiet. Like even the walls were holding their breath. That night, she didn't go out. First time in months. She stayed in the bedroom, barely moving. I could hear the mattress creak every now and then, but no TV, no music, no phone calls. Just silence. I lay on the couch, fully dressed, staring at the ceiling. I didn't want to sleep beside her. Not because I was angry, but because I couldn't pretend anymore. My cowardice had expired. The next morning at 9:14, her phone rang. I know the exact time because I was in the kitchen pouring coffee, and the ringtone made me freeze mid-pour. She answered upstairs. I couldn't hear everything, just fragments. But what I caught turned my stomach. She kept repeating one word, "What?" And then another, "Now?" I walked upstairs. Not to snoop, just to see her face. She was sitting at the edge of the bed, pale, eyes wide, phone trembling in her hand. When she saw me, her mouth opened like she was about to explain something, but again, no sound. She just stared. "Was that Aaron?" I asked quietly. She nodded. "Aaron is our lawyer." Well, technically my lawyer now. I'd met with him last Thursday. Told him everything. Not just suspicions, but my plan. About the accounts. The documents. The surveillance. I wasn't looking for revenge. I just wanted to protect what was left of me. But judging by the way her hand was shaking, Aaron had told her more than I expected. Probably too much. I wasn't ready for that either. She stood slowly. No words. Just motion. Walked past me, down the stairs, and out the front door in her robe and slippers like she was in a daze. I didn't follow. I just watched through the window as she stood by her car, frozen, like she'd never seen it before. Then she opened the door, climbed in, and sat there for 15 minutes, engine off. I waited. But she didn't drive away. Instead, she finally came back inside, and with a strange, almost forced calmness, asked me, "What did you do?" And I said, "Only what I should have done the first time you lied to me." She blinked hard, like she was holding something back. Tears, maybe. Or rage. And then she asked a question I didn't expect. "Is this about the warehouse?" That's when I knew there was more. Much more. And whatever the warehouse meant, it wasn't yoga or wine night or helping Marla through her fake divorce. It was something she really didn't want me to know. I don't think she realized she said it out loud. That word, warehouse. It slipped out the way you mutter something in a dream, not meaning for anyone to hear. But once she saw my expression change, she froze. And I mean completely. Her lips parted like she wanted to rewind time, to shove the word back into her throat, but it was too late. I repeated it, slow and deliberate. The warehouse. She didn't answer. She just walked past me, straight to the kitchen, pretending to busy herself with the sink even though there was nothing in it. Her hands shook as she grabbed a dishcloth and began wiping the already clean counter. I didn't press her. I just stood there, waiting. Eventually, I said, "You might as well tell me now. I've already started digging." Her back tensed. "What do you think you know?" "Enough to recognize when you're terrified." She turned to face me then. Not angry. Not defensive. Just defeated. "It's nothing. A place I used to go to think. That's all." "Celine, I've never seen you think quietly in your life." That got a bitter laugh out of her. A short one. Then silence again. I walked into the office and grabbed the folder I'd hidden behind the filing cabinet. It was time. Inside were printed records I'd pulled together from different accounts over the past 2 weeks. ATM logs. Gas receipts. A blurry photo from a friend who owed me a favor and had followed her one night. I slid the photo across the table. "Is this the place?" She looked down. 1 second. 2. 3. And then, she nodded. That was all I needed. I didn't say another word. I grabbed my keys, phone, and the folder and headed for the door. She tried to block me. "Wait. Please don't go there. Please. You don't understand." "Oh, I understand perfectly now," I said. "You weren't just lying to me. You were trying to keep me stupid." She reached for my arm, and I pulled away. "Is there someone there?" I asked. "Is that where you meet him?" Her face crumbled for a moment. Just a flicker. That was my answer. The drive to the warehouse felt like a film reel unraveling in my head. I couldn't stop thinking about all the little moments I'd ignored. Her new clothes. Her gym bag that was always too light. The nights she came home laughing to herself. It all connected now. The warehouse was about 30 minutes outside of town, tucked behind an industrial complex that hadn't been active in years. It was the kind of place you'd never notice unless you were looking for it. I parked behind a dumpster, far enough to not be seen from the street. From the outside, the place looked abandoned. Rusted steel door. No signage. Just a dented gray structure that smelled like oil and wet concrete. But someone had been there recently. There were fresh tire tracks leading to a side entrance, and a cigarette still burning on the ground near the loading dock. I approached carefully, heart pounding in my throat. I wasn't sure what I'd find, but part of me expected a cliché. Her lover waiting in the shadows, a couch in the corner, maybe music playing softly. What I didn't expect was what I actually found inside. A dimly lit room, lined with storage units. And in the center, under a single hanging bulb, was a table. On that table, documents, equipment, and something else that stopped me cold. My name, on a printed spreadsheet, circled, repeatedly. And right beside it, another name I didn't recognize. But I was about to. Very soon. There's something unnerving about seeing your own name in a place that feels completely foreign. Like walking into a stranger's house and finding your childhood photo framed on the mantel. That's how it felt, standing in that warehouse, under that dim, buzzing light bulb, staring at a spreadsheet I was never meant to see. My full name was there. Not once, but multiple times. Circled, highlighted in yellow, right next to numbers, account IDs, dates, notes I couldn't fully interpret, but they were organized in a way that screamed intent. And beside my name, a column labeled, Transfer Potential. I felt my stomach twist. This wasn't just an affair. This wasn't just betrayal. This was something deeper. Something calculated. I snapped a photo of the paper, heart pounding like I was stealing from a crime scene. Every instinct told me to leave, but then I saw the other name. Gabe calling. I didn't know a Gabe. And I definitely didn't know a Gabe that would be connected to me like this. I looked around, half expecting someone to appear from the shadows. But the place was empty. Not abandoned, just in between uses. I opened one of the metal cabinets along the wall. Inside were boxes of tech equipment. Modems, routers, even a few old laptops, none of which looked like they belonged in a yoga studio or a wine night meetup. Another cabinet had a stack of hard drives labeled with dates. Most recent, just 3 days ago. Whatever this was, it was ongoing. I grabbed that hard drive, tucked it into my jacket, and I got out of there. When I got back home, the house was dark. Celine wasn't there. Her car was gone. No note, no call. Just a quiet, empty house that felt less like home and more like a stage after a performance. Costumes left behind, but the actors gone. I plugged the hard drive into my old laptop in the garage. I didn't want to use my main computer. Too risky. It took a while to load, but once it did, the folder structure was oddly clean. Too clean. Labeled weeks, dates, recordings. There were video files, audio files, screen captures. The first video I opened nearly made me vomit. It was our bedroom. A top corner angle, like from a hidden camera. Me, on the bed, asleep. Celine, sitting on the edge of the mattress, talking on the phone in a low whisper. "I'm doing what you said. I moved the last chunk this morning. He hasn't noticed." The voice on the other end was muffled. I couldn't make it out, but the response made her laugh. A bitter, humorless sound. By the time he realizes anything, it'll be too late. He's harmless. Harmless. That's the word she used to describe me. Not trusting. Not naive. Harmless. I didn't even realize I was gripping the arm of the chair so tightly until I noticed my knuckles were white. I sat there, frozen, letting the words echo in my head. The next 3 files were more of the same. Calls, conversations, movement of assets, mentions of me, my accounts, and someone named Gabe who, apparently, had been helping her for months. I shut the laptop. My ears were ringing. My legs refused to move. This wasn't just infidelity. This was a setup. And I was the idiot walking blindly into it. I texted Aaron, my lawyer, told him we needed to talk now. He called back within minutes. I started telling him what I found, trying to explain it all, but he cut me off with 5 words I didn't expect to hear. Celine just called me crying. I froze. What did she say? She said you were threatening her, that you found something you weren't supposed to see. She wants to file a protective order. And just like that, she flipped the script. By the time I got off the phone with Aaron, I wasn't even angry. I was numb. That kind of quiet, surreal numbness where nothing feels real, like you're floating just a few inches above the ground and watching your own life from behind glass. She was already preparing her version of the story, and I hadn't even taken a breath. I hadn't said a word to anyone but my lawyer. But somehow, she was ahead of me, building a narrative, flipping reality inside out before I even understood what I was dealing with. According to her, I was unstable, snooping, threatening, and had accessed her private property at the warehouse. She told Aaron I'd become obsessed with her schedule, that I was tracking her movements and possibly setting her up. And the kicker? She claimed she feared for her safety and was considering her legal options. I laughed. A real, hollow laugh that I didn't even recognize as mine. I was the one being lied to. Gaslit. Filmed in my own home without consent. And now I was the threat. Aaron told me to stay calm. "We'll get ahead of this," he said. "But don't contact her directly. Don't give her anything she can use." Too late, I thought. She was already using everything I didn't say against me. That night, I slept in the garage. I didn't want to go back inside. I sat on the cold cement floor with a space heater humming in the corner, the hard drive on my lap like a cursed artifact. I played more files. Audio mostly. One conversation between Celine and a man I assumed was Gabe. The way they spoke, it was businesslike. Cold. Coordinated. "She's getting bolder," Gabe said in one file. "If he notices, shut it down. You can always say he's paranoid." "Already on it," she replied. "I've planted enough doubt. He's too soft to push back." Too soft. Harmless. Paranoid. She had her vocabulary down to a science. I watched the timeline unfold on the files. Weeks of planning, transfers of money, whispers about getting rid of me cleanly, but nothing criminal enough to scream from the rooftops. No smoking gun. Just 1,000 quiet stabs behind my back. The next morning, I walked into our house like a ghost. Celine was in the kitchen, fully dressed, a suitcase by the door. Her expression was calm, rehearsed. "I'm staying at a hotel for a few nights." I think we both need space." She didn't even look at me as she said it. Like I was just some failed experiment. Like all of this was exhausting for her. I stared at the suitcase. "So you've already packed up the performance, huh?" That finally made her look up. "I'm not doing this with you, Jonah. You've changed." "No," I said. I finally stopped playing dumb. She didn't reply, just grabbed her keys and left like she'd already practiced that scene 100 times. But here's the thing she didn't know. I made a copy of the hard drive. I also had the document with my name on it. And I had timestamps, location data, proof of audio surveillance inside our home. I was done reacting, done guessing. I wasn't going to fall into her trap. Later that evening, I received an email from her new lawyer. Not Aaron, someone else. The subject line was simple: urgent request for separation terms. Inside, they were requesting control over one of our joint accounts, immediate division of property, and, for my emotional instability, temporary sole occupancy of our home. She wasn't just trying to separate. She was trying to erase me. But I had something she didn't expect: evidence. And I was going to use it. I didn't respond to her lawyer right away. I let the email sit in my inbox like a bomb I wasn't ready to defuse. But every hour that passed, something inside me hardened. It wasn't anger exactly. It was closer to clarity. I had spent years pretending things were fine, smiling through tension, explaining away every late night, every cold shoulder, every empty excuse. Now I was done being the background character in my own life. If she wanted the house, fine. Let her have it. But she wasn't going to get it wrapped in silence. That afternoon, I went through every drawer in the home office, every cabinet, every box in the attic. I wasn't looking for comfort. I was collecting a trail. A folder here, a receipt there. I found handwritten notes she'd left herself. Call Gabe, confirm dates. Warehouse locks changed. Check Jonah's schedule. She was organized in the way only guilty people are. It wasn't just her betrayal. It was the method behind it that broke me. This wasn't a mistake. It was a blueprint. The last drawer I opened had an old external drive tucked behind a stack of expired warranties. Out of instinct, I plugged it in. Most of the files were standard junk, photos, PDFs, scans, but one folder was different. Password protected. It took me 5 tries, but on the 6th, I got in. Inside were recordings, videos from her phone, clearly made without my knowledge. One of them was just me, pacing the living room, venting to myself after she had ghosted me for the 3rd night in a row. I looked pathetic, tired, hurt, talking to no one. Another was from the bedroom. She'd clearly propped her phone up to record a conversation where I'd begged her to tell me the truth, and she'd just stared at me with a blank face, letting me unravel while she stayed perfectly calm. Watching it now, I realized what she was doing. Collecting leverage. Building a case to paint me as unstable. Abusive, even. That was the story she wanted the world to believe. Not because it was true, but because it was useful. I copied everything, uploaded it to a secure cloud folder, and sent it to Aaron with one sentence: "We go public if she pushes." He replied 10 minutes later: "Understood. I'll prepare a counter." The next day, I received a call, not from Celine, but from her sister. We hadn't spoken in months, maybe longer. She asked me what was going on, why Celine was telling everyone I'd snapped, and was threatening to destroy her life. I didn't lie. I sent her one audio file. Just one. 15 minutes later, she texted me. "She told me you were going crazy. I'm so sorry, Jonah." Celine's carefully woven web was beginning to fray. That evening, I walked through the house. Our house, one last time. I took photos of every room, every drawer, every document left behind. I wasn't planning to stay. I didn't want to fight her over bricks and furniture. Let her win that. But before I left, I did one thing. I printed a screenshot of the spreadsheet with my name on it from the warehouse. I wrote a note on it, in ink. "If you wanted everything, you should have played fair." Then I folded it neatly, placed it in the top drawer of her nightstand, and locked the front door behind me. Let her find that when she comes back. Let her wonder how much I really know. Let her fear the one thing she never thought I'd do: fight back. I didn't tell anyone where I went after I left the house. I didn't need to. Let her think I vanished. Let her assume I was too ashamed or broken to fight back. That's what she always counted on: my silence, my hesitation, my pathetic need to keep the peace while she lit matches behind my back. But this time, I wasn't hiding. I was building. I stayed at a cheap motel on the edge of town, the kind with buzzing fluorescent lights and a view of a dumpster. It didn't matter. All I needed was Wi-Fi, a lock on the door, and time. Time to dig. Time to breathe without her perfume soaking the curtains. Time to stop being the victim in a story I never agreed to be in. I spent hours going through the files from the hard drive, cross-checking bank transactions, tracking patterns. She had been rerouting funds for over 7 months. Not massive amounts, but consistent. $600 here, $1,200 there. Always just under the radar, buried in vague transfers labeled freelance consulting and vendor payments. I traced one deposit trail all the way to an account under the name G. Calling Enterprises. That name again, Gabe. I wasn't sure who he was yet, but I knew what he was, the real architect behind all of this. The confident shadow she whispered to in bed while I slept. The one coaching her, encouraging her, guiding her every step like some sleazy backroom strategist. And me? I was the idiot husband being bled dry in real time. But not anymore. I compiled a report. Everything I'd found, screenshots, documents, audio files, into a single digital dossier. I titled it Project Lantern. I don't know why. It just felt right. Like I was shining a light on something that had been deliberately kept in the dark. I encrypted the file and sent it to Aaron with another note. This gets leaked if I disappear or get slandered. He called me immediately. Jonah, are you okay? Better than I've been in months. You're serious about leaking this? She tried to erase me. I said. Now I'm giving her a reason to remember. That night, I made a burner account and sent an anonymous tip to a journalist who specialized in financial fraud and relationship exploitation. I didn't give too much, just enough to catch attention. Just enough to make sure this wasn't going to be buried under another fake narrative of me being unstable. By the next morning, the first domino had already fallen. Celine called me. I didn't answer. She texted, "We need to talk. Please. You've misunderstood everything." Misunderstood. That word did something to me. After everything I'd seen, my name on files, footage of her lying to my face, audio of her mocking me, I had misunderstood? 10 minutes later, another message came in. Shorter this time. More frantic. Did you send something to my job? I hadn't. Not yet. But now I knew where to aim. Then she did what I never expected. She sent a photo. It was her. Crying. Eyes red. Makeup smeared. The caption, "You're destroying me." I stared at it for a long time. Not because I felt sorry, but because for the first time in this entire ordeal, I could finally see the truth in her face. Fear. Real, unfiltered fear. The look of someone who realized the game only works when the other person refuses to play. I turned off my phone and closed my laptop. For the first time in a long time, I slept. And when I woke up, I knew exactly what I had to do next. When I finally returned to the house, it was empty, but not abandoned. It felt like someone had tried to erase all signs of me, but didn't quite know how. A few of my books were gone from the shelf. My coffee mug replaced. The photo of us from our trip to Oregon, where I now realized she'd already started lying, was missing from its frame. She had started rewriting history before I even packed my first bag, but she left behind the note I had placed in her nightstand. The one with the spreadsheet and that single sentence. If you wanted everything, you should have played fair. And next to it, something I never thought I'd see, my wedding band, placed carefully in the center of the sheet, like a signature to a contract we never signed. There was no dramatic showdown, no shouting match, no courtroom battle. She backed down, quietly, suddenly, just days after my lawyer sent over our version of the file, names, dates, and more than enough for anyone to connect the dots. Gabe Collins' name had popped up in another fraud report a few counties over. Celine must have realized it wouldn't take much for everything to crumble. We settled quickly after that. She didn't contest anything. Didn't ask for the house, the money, not even the car. She just wanted it to go away. And maybe that's what made me feel something close to peace. Not revenge, not satisfaction. Just closure. I didn't go scorched earth. I didn't leak the file. I didn't drag her through the mud. I didn't need to. I got something better. My life back. A month later, I moved into a smaller place across town. Modest, quiet, filled only with things that belonged to me. I set up my desk by the window, started freelancing again, even took a pottery class. I found myself laughing more, sleeping deeper, waking up without that dull weight pressing on my chest. The silence didn't scare me anymore. It felt earned. And just last week, I got a message from her sister, the same one I had sent that audio file to. She wrote, "Whatever you do next, I hope it's for you, not for her. You deserve that much." And she was right. So I didn't look back. No final phone call. No letters. No second chances. Just a quiet Sunday morning, a warm cup of coffee, and sunlight pouring into a home that finally felt honest. Thank you for watching this journey on Reddit Confessions. Sometimes, the most powerful revenge isn't destruction, it's survival. Now it's your turn. What moment from this story hit you the hardest? Was it the mug? The warehouse? The spreadsheet? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more unbelievable confessions every week.